Hey everyone, welcome back to Demon Slayer Chronicles. Today we are diving into Season 2 of Demon Slayer, Episode 4, titled Tonight. A couple of the big plot points for this episode are going to be one, Zenitsu is still missing, and the house pretty much said, hey, shouldn't have pissed her off, we're not going to go looking for him. Two, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Izui finally talk back up about the other two leaving, because Izui's kind of gaining some consciousness. And then a demon is in Inosuke's house and he wants to go after it now, but Tanjiro pretty much says to wait. Tanjiro reveals himself as a guy to his Oren before leaving, but she already knew. Inosuke gets sick of waiting for Tanjiro because he never comes and meets the muscle mice, which are the absolute best thing in the entire season so far, to grab both of his swords. Tanjiro then smells demon blood and runs back to his Oren to find Daki consuming her with her belt, which we've kind of seen teased a little bit before, and the episode ends with the fight about to begin and Tanjiro kind of clearly outmatched. So that's a very high level episode. A lot of you guys have already seen this. Dylan, you just watched this for the first time. Me, I just rewatched it last night. We have a couple of big things we want to talk about, but number one, can we just talk about the muscle mice for like 3 seconds
need to talk
before
about
anything else about plot development? Fuck that. Muscle mice's plot development in this household.
What's going on with the muscle mice? Why are they so sentient? Why do they wear clothes? How are they that ripped? Like, what are they?
It is completely different than anything we like. We know that crows have like a little bit more sentient ability than normal. We've kind of seen that, but the muscle mice are a whole different level because they seem to have personalities. They seem to be trained. They are able to kind of go away from their master and do stuff. What is this?
The mice are grown ass men.
Yeah,
They're walking around like on their legs and they're carrying things. I don't know.
like,
It rules.
and
It's great.
I don't know how they knew like at that exact moment to be there with Zenitsu. I mean, Inosuke as well. Like he just jumped in the ceiling and they were already there. They're smart guys.
Yeah. So okay, listen. They're muscle mice. I don't want to go too deep on the analysis of muscle mice, but like it has to deal with something because like Inosuke has like beast breathing or beast related abilities. Like that has to help, right? It can't
But they're not
hurt.
his mice though. They're
No,
Izui's
no,
mice.
but he still has like affinity for
Fair.
animals, though, right? So there has to be something there. Like it can't just be these mice just can't straight up be what they are, right?
I mean, I want a whole miniseries around them. Like, you know how like sometimes OVAs aren't great? I want the OVA of these mice training with Izui,
Yes.
becoming this strong, and like how they ended up here in this situation. Because I'm sure that story doesn't exist, but it has to be a good one if it did exist. Like, there's no reason why you just come up with that otherwise.
Yes, I want them like going to the gym. I want them lifting together. I want them eating a bunch of food. Like I want that OVA too.
Yeah. So taking a step back, I know we got two last kind of points to go in there, but this kind of feels like the last of the setup episodes. I mean, every time in Demon Slayer, we're like, okay, let's take a couple episodes, build out the world, build up the characters, build up the stakes, and then the fight begins.
Hmm.
And at the very end of the episode, the fight begins, which means we're off to like what? Probably an 8 to 12 week stint of just pure combat because it's Demon Slayer, the most beautiful things we're ever going to see. And that's exciting. I don't feel like I know Tanjiro kind of went back. The fight started off because he went back for the Orin. I don't feel like they did such a good job of making me care too much that she's getting captured. Obviously, a little sad. Obviously, his kind of motivating moment. I don't feel like they've built out that very well, but I think they've done a very good job of building out the fear around Daki and kind of how much of a control this demon and how everyone's pretty much fearful of her in her more human or demon form. So I think they've done a great job of building out that, but the other kind of side characters, I don't care too much about, but they're not what the rest of the season's really about.
Yeah, I think it's just because we didn't have very many episodes with them. Like because of the pacing, and this is like we're still at the start of the season essentially. We didn't get enough time with these characters really care about them, which is not ultra impactful for me. Like I'm more interested in seeing like what Daki has going on because like they like you're totally right. They have set her up to be incredibly scary and like incredibly powerful. So like I'm definitely more interested in that rather than like saving the people of this town.
Yeah, I'm just really kind of curious as well because, like, how strong is she going to be? Like, we saw in the movie or in the series, whichever one you kind of watched, like an upper level demon, which I'm kind of assuming that she's been around for how God knows how long, who was able to take down Hashira. Like, or kind of go toe to toe, I guess, with Rengoku. It was a pretty close fight there. So I don't know if this could be an easy fight, if someone's going to get injured right away. Like, it almost feels like right now it's obviously Tanjiro kind of 1-on-1, but it feels like if all four of them, I guess Zenitsu is captured right now, like, I got to kind of figure out what the handicap's going to be for the Demon Slayers at this point. Because right now, otherwise, you kind of hope that if Tanjiro's actually able to fight this time because he's not as injured, plus Uzui's kind of there, plus Inosuke, like, it's a little bit more of a fight in terms of the Demon Slayer side, but I'm trying to figure out what that handicap's going to look like.
Yeah, I think the ultimate handicap really is just going to be the numbers game. Is like if you have Tengen there as like one of the high ranking like Hishira, like going up against this lower demon with the addition of like our normal crew, I think that kind of balances it out because like, all right, listen, Tanjiro is still like new to the game, but
Yeah.
like he's got that MC kind of like stuff going on, right?
Demon
Like so
Slayer
he
doesn't care, though. Like, I know
really
the point you're going with, but like, he's gotten the shit beat out of him in every single fight. That literally, he watched one of like his mentors die in front of him after not being able to do much. Sure, he did a lot on the train there, but like, I agree that he has some main character stuff. But if any show in the series is going to respect that, obviously he's not going to die. But he literally has to go in a month of recovery after every single arc. So him having main character only goes so far in Demon Slayer compared to something like Naruto, where he's always going to win and overpower the villain no matter what.
Yeah, I think regardless, though, I think it's going to be that numbers game,
Yeah.
especially since we have a Hashir with us.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I think as it gets going on, there'll be less to kind of talk about content wise, and more is going to be talking about how beautiful the fight scenes are. So that's kind of why I want to talk a little bit more about that on this side. But the one thing that we kind of did get for world building here, and I wanted you to kind of dive into this a little bit, is like ranking magic. Like they're kind of showing like the wisteria symbols on their hands and stuff like that. Like something that they've never really shared at all before, but clearly they've had for a while. Like it felt like a random time to kind of drop it. I don't know if that's going to play into this at all.
Yeah, I so the thing I thought that was interesting about it is because it answered a question I think is really hard to answer is like how do you know you're part of the Demon Slayer Corp, right? Because you don't magic doesn't exist with them. It's all about breathing and technique, right?
Mhm.
And so like you need a way to show, yeah, no, I actually am a master swordsman that's part of like this organization. So I figured they would have like a stamp or a seal, but somehow they also doubled back on it and went, no, we actually do have magic because you have your ranking embedded into your hand, I guess. Um, which one, very cool because it's like, I'm gonna show my badge kind of thing. But two, this felt wild and kind of out of nowhere. Very useful though. I guess we're kind of tracking like progress because like that's like the main shonen thing, right? It's like you're showing like the progress over time, ranking up until eventually you're like the top ranking person.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of what this is going to be like. I guess that's like I guess the framework it sits on, right?
Yeah, that he kind of think like, oh, after all this comes to an end, we could see a moment of where like the stamp on his hand kind of changes, and like, oh, that's a big moment for the three of them. Like, oh, great, we're all kind of ranking up, kind of like from whatever to Jonin and all that kind of stuff, like in Naruto as a comparison. Like, you have the big moments there.
Yeah, and like what's going on in the back end, right? Is it like this ability like innately understands like your own power level and assesses that, or is there literally like a Shira that is like sitting back like in the main area of just like calculating totals and like doing like special magic to assign rank and whatnot? Like
And
is this assessing a data like where are they getting this from? Like where is this actually being pulled from?
yeah, and it really literally feels like I have no idea where it comes from, but like it really feels like rank doesn't matter. Like Hishira or not Hishira. I know there's other ranks, but they never like run like you don't run it into many other demon slayers besides each other and then Hishira. It feels like after the one arc, but like no one's like showing off their rank or kind of there's no like structure here. So I don't really know
Yeah.
how much it really matters. Like the power of friendship is going to make them survive anyway. It's not their rank, so I don't think it's going to play too much into the series. But maybe there might be a moment of where there's a bigger fight and they'll be able to like to say tell other people what to do eventually because they're like higher ranks. But right now, it doesn't even feel like there's any value in ranks. It just feels it
Yeah.
does. It feels out of place to an extent. It also makes sense in the world, but it also feels like if it didn't exist, no one would really question it and just like okay, it's Hashira and non Hashira because everyone does their own missions anyways.
So all the people that are in between low rank and Nashira, are they those people that were in like the black uniforms last season then? I
Probably.
assume I
I think
assume
everyone's
they're
supposed to be in a black uniform, just our crew doesn't.
okay, so everyone's supposed to be in a black uniform except Nashira, because they're super powerful, so they get a flex or whatever. But also the main crew doesn't because they're the main crew.
Yeah. They got to differentiate them. So it makes there's no rules here. There are so many rules, but there are no rules here. Hey, go
And
kill this demon. You don't die. We don't give a shit.
yeah, there is a million rules set up and in place, but it definitely seems like none of them are used. And maybe this is going to be the same thing where it's like they'll just pull it out whenever it's like kind of convenient.
Yeah, or maybe they'll bitch slap the demon and it'll hurt her for a second and get like an opener or something because it's Wisteria. Like I don't know. Like it does feel kind of weird. I don't know where they're gonna lead with that. Maybe it could have some really good payoff down the road. It just didn't feel like they spent a couple like a minute kind of setting it up here in this episode, but it just felt weird. It feels like something that when they got the tattoo, they should have spent a minute or two there showing them getting it, explaining what it does for them, and then move on. Kind of during one of the healing or training montages, like that would have made more sense. But whatever,
Yeah.
they did it here. It doesn't make it makes sense, but I think kind of moving into the big point of where this episode's going to end and where the season's going to go from here is Tanjiro going to be able to beat Daki? Do we think he has enough main character energy? Do we think his couple months of training is going to be enough to take down something, one of the moon demons?
No shot. Absolutely no shot. Like, okay, listen. You just explained it well, right? Like there is that no like main character energy that can like supersede this fight. So it has to be like what we were talking about before, where they group up and they like attack her, right? Where it has to be a group effort. Like Tanjiro on his own. What I'm guessing, like the flow of the fight is going to go, is that he's going to get his like ass beat for a while, and then like everyone's going to show up, and then that's the moment, right?
Well, it's that, or also, let's not forget the real powerhouse of the Tanjiro, Nezuko's on his back. Nezuko has a better chance of
That's
winning this fight
that's true.
than Tanjiro. So I think more than likely what'll happen, Tanjiro almost die because he does not have a chance in this fight. Nezuko will come in and hold off long enough for the rest of the crew to kind of go up, or she'll go off and try to save Zenitsu or something kind of like that. Like, I definitely think that this is more of a kind of survival instead of a fight to win here. And I think he's even kind of questioning himself at the very end of the episode if he could do this, like of how strong the blood was smelling and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think it's any joke, and obviously he's taken down a lot of very trained people, as well. So I think they've pretty much set it up the entire time that he stands no chance, and no one wants. They want to make sure that the fans don't expect him to come in and beat the shit out of her next episode. Like, no, this is a survival game.
Yeah, I guess like a quick question. Do we know how powerful Nezuko is compared to like our main three? Does she sit kind of alongside them or is like more powerful? Because we've seen her in action, but like where do you think like power level wise she kind of
I'm gonna
sits?
put her number one just because of regeneration. I mean,
Oh, that's very
having the
true.
ability to regenerate in a fight is always going to make you at least on par with them. Because I mean, obviously Tanjiro has the breathing styles. Nezuko, we kind of seen her blood art the one time or twice now. I guess once during Mugen Train as well. But we don't know the full extent of how she can use that. But being able to regenerate anything that happens is automatically going to make her last longer, so she'll do better.
It makes
But
sense.
so it'll be interesting. I feel like not only Tanjiro have to have some growth, but Nezuko always has growth in these big arcs as well. So I'm excited to kind of see where that goes because each time she has growth, she gets stronger or does something new. So I'm really excited to kind of see where that goes. But I mean, from here, it's going to be a lot of fighting. I mean, I don't know if
I'm
you've heard, I
hyped
know
for
you
it.
haven't seen it, but I'm sure you've heard how good season 2 looks. And it really does live up to the animations of season 1. So very, very excited to kind of go from here. But as always, only one way to wrap up a Demon Slayer Chronicles episode, and that's with the Taisho secret, Dylan.
Yeah. Here's a Taisha secret. A short one, a very short one for you. So Tanjiro, his fake name is Sumi. And that also just means coal, like charcoal. Yeah, it's very short, but like we talk about this like on every single show that we do that like in anime, they are very keen on their names. They are very deliberate about names. So like you can kind of go a little bit too far and like overanalyze everyone's name. But if someone uses a name, it's probably for a reason. And he used Sumi because of charcoal. And we all know
I
his
love
family
that.
made charcoal.
Oh, that's actually really just, it's a very simple thing. It's just, it doesn't really have any impact on anything, but I love that. But I think that's a great way to kind of end it. I think with that, we're going to be wrapping up this episode. If you guys enjoyed this at all, please go over to youtube.com/class1a, subscribe, and if you're watching a YouTube video, like, comment, leave your thoughts on the episode and the season so far as a whole. All that helps us a ton. We also do My Hero Academia content every other week. Plus, as the season starts kicking off in a couple of months here, we will be doing even more. So make sure to stay up to date with everything we do on that for youtube.com/class1a, or you can follow us over on Twitter at twitter.com/class1a pod. But thank you all so much for listening, watching, whatever you are doing, and we will be back next week with some My Hero Academia content. See you guys then.